Good afternoon, and welcome to my speech on global economics, more specifically the relationship between China and the United States. I will provide a brief overview of China and the United States economic relationship. Currently, we're experiencing an economic recovery in the United States, but the U.S. lags behind China, who have positioned themselves to be the world's dominant economic powerhouse over the next century. Why is this, and how? Well, China's production is rapidly expanding. With limited government oversight and lax laws regulating working conditions, China is much like America was during the first part of the 20th century. It's incredibly cheap to do business there, and production and industry is booming as a result. This leads to many American jobs being outsourced there. I'm sure some of you may know someone who's laid off as a result of their job being outsourced, and companies like Dell, Microsoft, Logitech all take advantage of the incredibly cheap labor and flock there. Further spurring this imbalance are Chinese companies that have become major players on the world stage. And lots of these companies that have become major players are SOEs, or state-owned enterprises. These state-owned enterprises enjoy massive subsidies and government privileges that enable them to compete with private corporations from an unfair economic perspective. These are companies like Chinese National Petroleum, Chinese National Bank, Cinco, just to name a few. And despite the fact that China's economy is exploding, our country's economic securities are not mutually exclusive. They're in fact closely tied together, and both need to progress in the long run for us to progress economically. Basically, we must work together, as eventually China's production advantage will level off and subside, and their government subsidies will decrease as a result. When their infrastructure increases to a level more comparable to the United States, so will their costs of production. This will decrease their cheap labor and the advantage they have today. When this happens, U.S. trade deficits will diminish, and there will be a more harmonious environment between China and the United States. So, what does the future hold for China? Well, inevitably, it will become the world's most dominant and powerful economy. And it will drive the price of goods up in the U.S. Energy, gas, groceries, they're all going to go up, comparable to where they're at today. In China, they'll go down. So basically, in China, if you have $2,000 today, in the future, you'll have $6,000. Whereas in the U.S., if you earn $30,000 today, you may only have $31,000. But yet the cost of goods will have gone up. So while you still earn more money in the United States, comparably, the price of living is decreasing in China and their quality of life is going up. So, as you can see, China and the U.S. are tied together by currency reserves, trade, and other economic factors, and they both deal with very real issues that can either help or hurt their respective economies. Yet, they're still reliant on one another as a result. And while China is getting the long end of the stick currently due to their lax labor laws and oversight of working conditions, eventually it will equilibrate, and the trade deficit will begin to balance. Thank you all for attending my speech on China and the United States economic relationship. I appreciate it.